Okay, this one is a little bit different than the others. It's important to pay attention. Before we had a choice, but for a square, since it has so many things, you got to kind of prove all three to show that it's a square. And so, actually, by definition, I think we could just prove the first two, the last two, right? If we prove it's a rectangle, and then if we prove it's a rhombus. But what's going to happen is, in doing that, we're going to prove that it's a parallelogram anyway. So we're going to end up doing all three. Let's see why that is. To prove something's a parallelogram, you have to show opposite sides are parallel. To do that, we're going to look at the slopes. That's how you tell if things are parallel, by the slopes. If we want to show, then to prove that it's a rectangle, we have to show that all the angles are right angles. And the way we prove that is using slopes. We want to show that they're perpendicular. So the slopes should be opposite reciprocals. And for the parallel ones, the slope should be the same or equal, exactly the same. Then to prove that all four sides are congruent, we need to do distance formula, and that will show that all the distances are the same, or all are equal. So we're gonna do, really we only have to do 2 and 3, but we're gonna end up doing all three of them anyway, because it's a square. It's got all that stuff. So first, let's start with the slopes. Or actually, I'm sorry. First, we should graph it. 1, -4. 3, 0. So that's our E. That's Y. -1, 2. That's A. And then R. -3, -2. So let's start with the slopes. We need to do the slopes of AR, RY, YE, and AE. So the slope of AR is going to be Y minus Y over X minus X. So I'm using A and R, these 2 points. So I'm going to go 2 plus 2 because it's 2 minus a -2. And then -1 plus 3 because it's minus a -3. So I get 4 over 2, which is 2. So the slope of AR is 2. Now let's do the slope of RY. So we're going to use these 2 points for RY. Y minus Y, we're going to say -4 minus -2. So that's a plus 2. And then 1 minus a -3, which is a plus 3. So that's going to work out to be -2 over 4, which is -1/2. Now we're going to do the slope of YE. So we're going to use the points Y and the point E. And we're going Y minus Y over X minus X. So we've got -4 over -2. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then for AE, we want to do that slope, so we're going to use these 2 points. So I'm going Y minus Y and X minus X. So I get -2 over 4, which is a -1/2. So there are my 4 slopes. What that's going to show is that's going to show that side RY is parallel to side AE because they have the same slope. It's going to show that AR is parallel to AE. I'm sorry, AR is parallel to YE because they have the same slope. We just proved it's a parallelogram. Now to prove it's a rectangle, we want to show that the sides are all perpendicular. which they are going to be because the slopes that are not parallel are opposite of reciprocals of each other. So since 2 and negative 1/2 are opposite reciprocals, all the sides are, I should say adjacent sides, sorry. All the adjacent sides are perpendicular to each other. This means, whoops, spelled that wrong. All right angles. So it is a rectangle. So just from the slopes, we proved parallelogram and rectangle, which were those first two. Now we got to show that it's a rhombus. We want to show that all the sides are congruent. So we just showed that all the angles are right angles. Now we have to do the distance formula on all the sides. So if we do the distance formula of AE, we're using those 2 points up there that are underlined, A and E. So it's going to be x minus x plus y minus y. Wait, whoops, I did that. I used the wrong point. X minus x, so 3 plus 1, because minus a negative is a plus. And y minus y, so it's plus, and then y minus y, 0 minus 2 squared. That's going to work out to be the square root of 3 plus 1 is 4, and 4 squared is 16. 0 minus 2 is negative 2, and negative 2 squared is positive 4. It's going to work out to be the square root of 20. I want to show that all of them work out to be the square root of 20. So we also have EY. EY, we're now going to use these 2 points. So I go x minus x squared plus y minus y squared equals 1 minus 3 is negative 2, and negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 minus 0 is negative 4, and negative 4 squared is 16, so I get square root of 20. Let's go through and do AE. EY we did, so I'll write them on there. That's the square root of 20. That's the square root of 20. You need to show that RY is the square root of 20. I'll let you guys try that on your own and see if you can get it right. It will indeed be the square root of 20. And then AR also is the square root of 20. So you should pause the video here and make sure that you can get both of those done. Go through the steps, okay? Pause the video and try that. Okay. So welcome back. So now that we know, hopefully you got those to be 20, not too much trouble. Now we know that since all the sides are congruent, we know it's a rhombus. And we also know that the definition of a square is a rhombus and a rectangle. So since this, the final statement, is both a rhombus and a rectangle, that proves it's a square. That's kind of your final statement. Look at all the writing I have to put in here. It's not just about the math. I cannot stress this enough. When you do your take-home assessment, make sure you're writing explanations.